there any word from Nigeria's High Commission in South Africa about what they did to save Nigerians from some of these attacks? And when did they even get information about it in the first place?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We mentioned on the floor yesterday that the Nigerian High Commission actually reached out to Nigerian communities. They have very strong associations, Nigerian diaspora associations in South Africa. The High Commission reached out to them, and the associations also reached out to all its members, and the message was stay home. Don't open your shops. Forget about your businesses. In fact, move away from your homes. And those... all that everything was complied with. So you had many Nigerians staying home. Up till now, their businesses are not open. They haven't opened their shops. Some have fled their homes and are not going home. Some are seeking refuge, you know, with other Nigerians. And I have to commend the Nigerian camaraderie in South Africa at this point in time. You have families helping other families and staying together and keeping together. So that really has helped. The High Commission did go out to say, you know what, let's be careful here. And indeed, they were careful. That is why we haven't had, you know, as much casualty as we should have expected. And I believe that should continue. However, as the ambassador said, if need be, but I don't think it has reached that stage. Maybe Nigerians will have to be evacuated if they want to. But right now, Nigerians have followed instructions. They've stayed home. They've shut their businesses. Of course, they're losing a lot of money, and I don't know how long that will continue. And my worry is this will stop now, and then it's going to happen again. If this dies down and then nothing happens, it is going to happen again. And that is why we're saying that we have to be more decisive. Recall the ambassador. Make a strong statement. The African Union, Ms. Zuma, must do something, and otherwise it's going to happen again. That is as sure as the sun will shine.
Yes, we're speaking about what kind of actions should be taken at inter-government level, but what do we, well, somebody filmed or they just filtering through, so you may hear that one, but what kind of actions are we demanding for those whose businesses have been directly affected? Even if we sort this out at intergovernmental level, what about those who have been victims of this?
The South African government has to compensate them. We said that again yesterday. It's not fair to have your businesses closed down, you're running at a loss. That is why this has to stop. Those whose businesses have been closed down must be compensated by the South African government. It's not right, for no reason at all. Look at the Oliver guy was virtually crying on the phone. He has a restaurant, a thriving restaurant, open legally. They went in there, beat him up, all his staff, ate the food, destroyed everything. What do you want him to do? How is he going to rise again? Where is he going to get the money? So open a shop again. And he can't even go there, he's afraid. So such businesses must be compensated. And that's why we're saying, if you recall the ambassador, he comes to brief, you know, comes with a large brief, a detailed brief of all this. And then Nigeria must demand for compensation for these businesses. Because if you look at them, they are doing, you know, very, very well in some parts of South Africa. So really, like I said, like I use Oliver as an example. How does he rise again? Where is he going to get the money for those losses? Everything he has been destroyed. So they must be compensated. And we're saying that if this is not done, Nigeria cannot continue like this. Apply the principle of reciprocity. South Africans have businesses in Nigeria. If you tell them, okay, you can't send your money back for 3 months, they'll know what it's like. So really, we can't afford to be complacent in this situation because, like I said, it will happen again and again.
Are you encouraged by the action of certain parts or certain groups in South Africa who have come out in a peace march against the actions of their brothers, in quote, who say these xenophobic attacks are not done in their name, even though, of course, there have been parallel matches. But are you encouraged by the act of those groups of people who probably are in the majority?
What if we join them and are going back home?
Oh, absolutely. But you see, those group of people are not the problem. Those that are causing the problem are like on the low income level in South Africa. They were not on the streets. In fact, the few of them on the streets kept shouting, "We don't want you." That is where the problem is. You know, it's not about the average income South African, black South African. That is where the education should go to, the awareness, talking to them. Maybe they have a problem with their government. Maybe they're not happy with their government. Maybe they're taking the frustration out on fellow blacks who are there working very, very hard, to make a living. I think that is where the problem is. Yes, we're encouraged by, and in fact in Lagos here, people also came out saying that no to xenophobia. It's not something anybody likes or encourages. And I'm sure even President Zuma is not happy about that. But we have to go deeper than that and embark on a massive awareness campaign to those people who feel that deep-seated hatred because they just don't understand where they're coming from. They don't know the role that Africa played in where they are today. And what they are doing to fellow blacks is worse than what the whites did to them. I think that is the message. And they should have a sense of history that I think is missing at the lower level where this is actually taking place. It's taking place at the suburbs,
In all of this, I see some form of miseducation here. If some South Africans would think that others who are not South Africans should leave their country, and some in government don't see anything wrong in it, especially the law enforcement agents. It is a subtle endorsement of the actions of South Africans against non-South Africans. Have you reached out to our ambassador before coming up with this resolution of a recall?
Now rumbles in Johannesburg in Gauteng.
We've been to South Africa about 3-4 times. Like I said, this thing has been happening, but not to this level. There's no time where in South Africa and the issue of discrimination does not come up. Like I said, there's the term the query. Once they use that on you, the hostility begins. So it's nothing new. It's just that it's like you've been sweeping out something under the carpet and someday it busts open. This is what has happened here. So it's nothing new. Like I said, we're in South African prison. Went to about 3 prisons in South Africa and met the Committee on Diaspora and met with Nigerians in South African prisons. And we saw Nigerians who shouldn't be in those prisons because really they did nothing, but they are guilty by association. We saw Nigerians who, for 80 rands, were there for over 6 months. We saw Nigerians who had finished serving their sentences, but because they were Nigerians, they still kept them there. But with the help of the embassy, we resolved those problems because we're able to intervene. So really, we can't pretend that there's no discrimination against blacks in South Africa. It is there. How to tackle it now is the problem. And as you said, there's a disconnect between government and the people, because there's no problem at the government level, but there's the problem at the lower level. You go back to your homes or something, and you're walking about quietly, and the South African just comes and attacks you and says, I don't like you. That has been happening one-on-one, individually, and we've intervened in a few cases, and the embassy has also done that quite a lot. But we keep telling Nigerians, you are in their country, so you have to be patient, you have to be law-abiding, even if they provoke you. Okay, let me tell you a case of where a Nigerian was actually, obviously provoked and then reacted. That Nigerian ended up being charged for attempted murder. The case is still there and there's an appeal. So really, that's what we keep telling Nigerians. But most importantly is that as we move on, there are so many reasons why Nigerians will not have to leave their country. There are many Nigerians in South Africa who left because they're looking for hope in hopelessness. They're looking for jobs, and they felt they'll find the jobs there.
Just a moment,
as we move on,
if I may come in here, you've asked for certain things. You've asked that we recall our ambassador to have a conversation. Are you having any further conversation with the South African ambassador here in Nigeria? And also, how soon do you think that certain actions should be taken? In the sense that, yes, the Nigerian government has issued a list of what Nigerians in South Africa should do for now. But how soon do you think that Nigeria would step up that action? Is it something that you have a time frame to?
Immediately. As you said, for now. But all actions has to be immediate. It has to be immediate. And as for the South African ambassador, the motion that we passed yesterday is being forwarded to him, and we intend to also pay him a visit as early as next week. But I'm sure he's already aware anyway, so we're going to do that next week. So the action should be immediate. Now, we cannot recall the ambassador. It's a motion, and as the federal government always says, our motion is advisory, but in the interest of human lives. And a lot has been lost in the past. In the interest of human lives, in the interest of the welfare of Nigerians, these actions must be taken immediately. We can't afford to have more of our people killed. The business of government is to take care of the welfare of its citizens anywhere in the world. And so this should be the priority of the Nigerian government. Immediate action should be taken because it will happen again if Nigeria does not put its feet down and be very, very decisive. It's not enough to say, oh, we're watching and waiting, and seeing how it's going to go. It's been happening, and it's going to continue to happen. We've documented several cases and sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and nothing has happened. So this time around, in the interest of the welfare and lives of Nigerians in South Africa, and in fact Nigerians anywhere in the world, I believe that this has to be immediate, it has to be thorough, and it has to be effective.
All right, Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erewa, thank you very much indeed for speaking with us today on the program. All right,
Thank you.
We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away.